All right, let's take a quick peek at where we are with the installation. Yep, looks like it's still going on. So we're just going to continue with the topic of licensing. Now we're going to get into the license installation. Going back to the diagram that we have, as I said, I already have the ICE number 1 stood up and ready to go right now. So we're going to be doing now ICE license installation on that server, which is going to end up being our primary admin anyway. As I mentioned, ICE 3.0 only support smart licensing. So the prerequisite to a license install is that one, you need to have a smart account, right? And that's with your company. So if your company don't have that, you definitely want to sign up as a first step. But the chances are your company should have this already if you've been dealing with Cisco products. Then you need to make sure that your ICE licenses that you purchase has been loaded into your account, right? Because it doesn't help if you have a smart account but no licenses. And then the last thing is you need to make sure that your ICE has internet access so it can reach out to the smart licensing server. Now to get your ICE registered with the smart licensing server, first thing you need to do, bring up the web interface. Okay, you go to the Cisco Software Central, basically software.cisco.com, and then there's a link where you can select the smart licensing. Log in with your account and hopefully you already have access to your company smart account, and you see the name of your company showing up on the upper right hand corner there. If you happen to have access to multiple smart license accounts, just make sure that the correct account is selected, especially if you are a Cisco partner and you have access to multiple customer smart accounts, or maybe your company just happen to have multiple smart accounts. Again, make sure that is selected correctly. In addition to selecting the correct account at the company level, you also want to make sure that you also select the correct virtual account. If your company have multiple virtual accounts, and hopefully one of those will be used for ICE, if it's not a default, then you want to select, like for us right here, we have one called default, one called admin, the other one called SD-WAN. I guess we have a separate one for SD-WAN there. But for us, we're just going to use a default. First, you need to generate a registration token. Click on the new token. For description, we're just going to say ICE. You can provide the expiration day. By default 30, but you can increase it all the way up to a year. And if you also want to limit the maximum number of use, you can do that too. We're not going to do that. And click Create Token. Pretty straightforward. And then copy that token right there, Control C. So you have that ready to go. Then you want to jump back to your ICE. Let me go ahead and log in first. And this is our ICE 1. Just FYI, you can tell based on the URL, lm-ice1. Okay, let's go ahead and provide later on that. And we'll talk about the web interface and all that in a later video. For now, we're just going to jump ahead and get into administration and licensing. This is where you configured all of the ICE licenses. And you can see because we are running eval right now, it's saying that we have 90 days left on that. And it said Cisco Smart Licensing Evaluation. There's some UID details in there. There's the PID, a product ID, the VID or the serial number of our VM. To configure this, expand the registration detail. This is where you would enter the registration tokens. Go ahead and paste that. This is what we copied from our smart licensing server, our portal. Then you need to define connection method, which is how ICE is going to connect to the smart license server, whether it's directly through a proxy or through a transport gateway. We are going to do a direct connection with HTTPS. Then you need to specify the type of licenses that you plan to use, so ICE can account for those. By default, Essential, Advantage, and Premiers are all checked. Let's go ahead and check Device Admin as well. For the virtual appliance, I guess they're all checked by default. You can't even change it, so we'll leave it that way. Yep, you can see right there, enable the features that you purchased so it can be tracked by the smart licensing. Go ahead and click Registered. Confirm, and ICE will be spinning right here. It's just a matter of time. Give it a couple minutes here. ICE will reach out to the server. and register it. And just FYI, you only need to register the primary node for the most part, although I've seen where you might need to renew the registration after adding subsequent ICE nodes, but otherwise everything is being controlled from the primary admin node. It looks like the registration is done. One way to check that is to get back to your Smart License account, jump over to the product instances page, and hopefully we'll see right here, LM-ICE1, that we just registered. Okay, going back to our ICE portal, you can see right there at the top, you have an option to either renew the registration or deregister the server. Right down below, you see a table that keeps track of the license consumption from Essential, Advantage, Premier, Device Admin, as well as the VM licenses. You can see there's a count of 1 right now under the VM small because we're running the eval and the spec of our VM matches the size VM small. That's why we get a count of 1. From this point onward, ICE will collect license consumption every 30 minutes and report the peak usage back to the Smart License server every day. Okay, just keep in mind the statistic that you see here is not real time, right? But that's based on the collection interval. So ICE will show the consumption stat based on the consumption counts. If you have any out of compliance, it keeps the number of day counts and the last time it was authorized. And whether or not, most importantly, you're in compliance. Assuming that you have purchased correct type with the sufficient quantities for the license at this point, your ICE should be properly licensed. Now to finish off our lab, let's jump back and see where we are with installation. Looks like that is pretty much done. While we can lock in using the console, I'm going to do is to use SSH instead just to get a bigger font for you guys. Just going to bring up, since we enabled SSH during the initialization wizard, connect to ICE number 2 because it's the first time. The PuTTY asks for you to accept the key and then go ahead and log in using the credential that you provide during the installation. Just do a quick show run and review some of the default configuration. From the top, you got the host name, you got the IP domain name that we provided, ice.lambdas.com, the IP address of the Gigabit Ethernet 0, which is the primary interface that ICE uses. There's nothing under 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, then they're all actually remain shut down. The name server that we provide, 32.40, the default gateway, the time zone, NTP server, all the configurations are there, the username, password. Looks like by default, it allows MAC access a session of 5. Some password policies there, locking level, CDP, ICMP being allowed. Just to check and see if we have reachability to our network, we can ping the internet 8888. See if that works. Yep, you see we get the reply back there. Let's see if we can ping itself, meaning that it has a DNS record. So LM ICE2, icelabmins.com. Yep, that is pingable. We can try to ping ICE1 as well, just to see if it can talk to its neighbor. Yep, and that's working. And finally, let's try to ping a cisco.com. And we kind of know that's working just because we just went through the smart license registration, and obviously that requires a working internet connection. So now let me bring up a web interface and trying to get in there. You can see I have a bookmark there for LM-ICE2. Go ahead and log in. And this is going to be your first time logging into this particular ICE node. I guess the same thing as we saw earlier when we logged into ICE number 1. If you want to enable the Smart Call Home telemetry, you can provide the cisco.com ID. Well, we're just going to bypass that and do later. Click Next. A little warning as far as we're still running the eval license, which we have 90 days. And it tells you that use the smart license to basically register ICE and pull down the licenses. Okay, go accept and close. And there you go. We just basically complete our installation of our ICE node number 2. The last thing I want to do here is to deregister our ICE1 from the Smart account because we are going to continue the rest of our lab using the eval license. I'm going to go ahead and deregister. Okay, and there you go. We're back to having the 89 days remaining. With all the licenses there, I can see that the section for the VM licenses disappear, and we're back to just the core licenses and the device admin. All right. So the process of installing ICE VM hasn't really changed from the previous version, and it is pretty straightforward as long as you meet the hardware requirements and you have all the network parameters ready at the beginning for the initialization wizard. ICE licensing, on the other hand, can be confusing. So if you are unsure, you may want to engage your local authorized partner to help you navigate the licensing. One last note I want to make is that unlike the previous ICE version, where ICE only generate warning when the license is out of compliance, in 3.0, you have 45-day grace periods before losing GUI access. Just keep that in mind and make sure that you not get into that state for longer than 45 days. Now that we have to freshly install ICE nodes, we are ready to move into the next lab. And that wraps up our video on ICE 3.0 VMware installation and licensing. You can visit our website to view an extensive list of our lab videos and sign up to get access to additional lab contents. Thank you for watching labness.com, and I'll see you guys in the next video.